We will begin shortly. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and a very good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, my name is Azam Armi Muhammad Noor, and it is my pleasure to welcome all of you here again this morning. So I hope all of you enjoyed the whole conference we just had, and I would like to thank you for joining us today. And we are honored to have with us here today Professor Dr. Mamun Habib. Well, ladies and gentlemen, moving right along, it is now my pleasure to introduce our first guest speaker, Professor Dr. Muhammad Mamun Habib. Ladies and gentlemen, Professor Habib is a professor at School of Business, Independent University, Bangladesh, IUB. In addition, Prof. Habib is the visiting scientist of University of Texas, Arlington, USA. Prior to that, he was associate professor at Asia Graduate School of Business, AGSB, at Unitoy International University, Malaysia, and the Department of Operation Research Decision Sciences, UUM. Prof. Habib is also the editor-in-chief in International Journal of Supply Chain Management, IJSM, London, UK, and that one is Scopus Index. He accomplished his PhD and master's with outstanding performance in Computer Engineering Management, CEM, under the Graduate School of Business, GSB, from Assumption University, Thailand. His PhD research was in the field of supply chain management and has more than 17 years experience in the field of teaching as well as in training, workshops, consultancy, and also research. At present, he is supervising some PhD students locally and internationally. He also involved with online learning program at University of Roehampton, London, UK, and as international PhD reader. Our beloved Prof. Habib is actively involved with national and international research grant projects and has published about more than 120 research papers, including conference proceedings, journal articles, book chapters, and also books. He served as the editor-in-chief, lead guest editor, editorial board member, and reviewer of more than 20 journals, particularly Scopus and Web of Science Index journals. Also, he delivers lecture keynote speaker at more than 40 international conferences at various countries, particularly USA, China, Indonesia, Malaysia, Thailand, Singapore, Turkey, Korea, India, United Kingdom, and Italy. Our Prof. Habib also served as reviewer of numerous international conferences and received Best Track Chair Award at IEOM 2012 conference. His core research areas are supply chain management, production and operation management, operation research, research methodology, engineering management, technology management, and educational management. Finally, Prof. Habib is an active member of different professional organizations and involved with QS World University Ranking and Times Higher Education Ranking as an academician. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, please welcome Prof. Habib.
Thank you so much. I'm so much delighted and how you are introducing myself. I was feeling embarrassed that you're talking a lot about me. It's the short biography. Okay, so let us start our session. Basically, as you understand, today our discussion basically on the research publication. I'm so much honored that University of Uttar Malaysia, particularly Research and Innovation Management Center, RMC, they invited me for this session. So let me share my. Can you see my slide?
Yes, Prof, we can see your slide.
Okay. So what I said that today our publication related workshop basically like to emphasize on the Scopus in the journal publication. And I believe after end of the session, today our participants, they get some idea that how the Scopus in the journal, the review process and acceptance level, and as well as that how would be the construction of an Scopus in the journal paper. I'd like to start by this one, that how we can get the basic idea for the research. As you know that when you are writing any paper, our most important thing is that sometimes you couldn't get the idea that how it can start and from how it can start. So this is our one of the key issues is that how you can get the idea, basic idea about research. You know, I always mention that when you are planning for any kind of research or any kind of writing the paper, you have to start from the Google. Google would be the first step to get the new idea. I said the first step. And do you know that today, when we are discussing this one, before that, the our MC today, she discussed a lot about me, but nowadays not it, because if you know the name of the person, you can explore the person in the Google. That is, we called it that basically research term, secondary data, what you are receiving the information from the Google. And then secondly, you have to check in order to get the new idea, any kind of new topics, you can search on the Google Scholar, you can search on academia.edu, you can search on ResearchGate. This three is a basic one, and I suggest those are involved with academics as a faculty member or PhD scholar. You have to start from this one that if you have the Google Scholar account or academia.edu ResearchGate account, then you can spend some time on that and you can get a new idea from there. We are very familiar with the Facebook. We are very familiar with the Facebook. And I always mentioned to my PhD scholars and SS colleagues that you have to spend more time on that Google Scholar, academia.edu, ResearchGate, rather than Facebook, so that you can get the new idea from there. There's other option. I don't want to talk too much about the remaining, but this is a basic one. You have to need this kind of few options. Definitely, you have to search the online database. Myself personally, I always request that at least one online database you have to use. Say you are the faculty member or you are the PhD scholar of the University of Malaysia. So check which online database are available in the university. Take the username password and use the one online database. Myself, I request that it is better to use the only one online database. If you use the several online database, there is a possibility of the redundant work. So say suppose you like to apply the only one online database, that would be the like maybe the Science Direct or maybe the Scopus Index or maybe the Emerald, no problem. But at least one online database you have to use. And what I said that when you have to search the documents from the Emerald, always you have to use the Emerald, so there is no question of redundant papers. If you use the two online database, maybe there is some redundant papers would be there. The open access. I think you are familiar that when you search in the Google, that you are sometimes you could download, sometimes you cannot download. So when you are downloading anything, you are very happy, but if you could download, you are not happy at all. So that is another option. We call it the open access. I'd like to request, if possible, some at least a few participants, you turn on your camera so that I can understand that I'm delivering the lecture with the human. Otherwise, everybody is turned off the camera. It means that I'm delivering the lecture with the statue. And sometimes, as online lecture, you are confused whether you are listening or whether I am stuck or technical difficulties. At least a few person, if possible, you can turn on your camera. Thank you. Okay, so what I said that when you search anything in the Google, then you have to face this problem that sometimes you cannot download and you have to purchase. As a researcher, we are not very interested to purchase any documents. So, what is the next option? Our next option is open access. This very interesting thing is that if you have open access, then no need to download, no need to think about the purchase. It's a free access. You can get it anytime, any moment. But among the all open access, Intac is the best open access in the world. At this moment, it's the leading open access in the world. Basically, they started their journey in 2004, and then publications of Intac is this Scopus Index as well as the Web of Science Index. So I think you understand the standard what is they're maintained. So what I said that this open access, if you have the open access, then automatically you can download from there very easily. That will be another way how you can get the research idea. And now come to the point that we assume that you already explored the some paper, you have the some journal paper. Now how you have to explore the new idea from there? You know that I always mentioned that initially when you review any paper, it is not that necessary that you have to read the whole paper. It is not that necessary to review the whole paper. So at first you can go to the like the abstract, read or review the abstract at first. If it's understandable, then go back to the like conclusion. If it is understandable, then come back to the like interaction and so on. You know that very carefully that when you review the abstract and after that when you go back to the conclusion, you have to check in the conclusion whether they have any kind of findings, whether they have any kind of recommendation, any kind of a limitation, implication of further study. So what I said that you are reviewing this on paper, right? So if they have any kind of further study, that could be the starting point of your research. If they have any kind of limitation, that could be the further study of you. So that means your starting point will start from the conclusion of the previous paper. And that's why I said that when you review any paper, that you have to check their findings, recommendation, limitation, implication for the work, something like that. I mentioned earlier that after review the abstract, is understandable, is a it's a matching with your scope, then go back to the conclusion. After that one, you come back to the like introduction and so on. I personally suggest you that do not review the statistic analysis part. If you review the statistic analysis part at the first time, then maybe you're confused. And you are not aware that which statistical tools you are going to use. As you are not sure about that one, so I suggested that it's better to avoid the statistical analysis review at the first time when you review any paper. So that is one of the target that the conclusion of the previous paper. We are talking about the research, right? So what is the research? Search, again search, again search. And this searching, what I said that you have to start from the Google, then you go back to the Google Scholar, ResearchGate, Academic Edu, go back to the online database, and move to the like the open access, and then you have to start from there. There are various types of research. I don't want to talk about the various types. I think you are very familiar with this one. There is exploratory research, descriptive research, causal research. I think more or less you are familiar with the exploratory research. Exploratory research means explore the new idea, explore the new concept. So you have to explore the new idea, new concept, new model. If you develop the new conceptual model, that is a part of the exploratory research. So what is the best example of the exploratory research? The PhD research. And you know that in the PhD research, you always expect in some subsequent research, and you have to mention for the study. So when you do the any kind of research based on the model, based on the new idea, new concept, if you publish any kind of scopus in the journal paper, that is based on the exploratory research. So when you write the paper, you have to mention clearly what type of research you are doing: exploratory research, descriptive research, causal research. On the other hand, the descriptive research means the based on the case study, organization, any phenomena, any industry-based, any kind of paper. We call it descriptive research. And on the other hand, is another type, the basic and applied research. You already mentioned that PhD is exploratory research, right? Now I'm talking about the basic research. Basic research is the pure research. We call it the unique research. And when you do the basic research, it means the research conducted with any specific decision in mind. So again, you have to have the new model, new concept, new ideas. So basic research is reflecting that our exploratory research. On the other hand, the applied research, what I said, the real life application. You can do that research on the KFC, you can do that research on the McDonald's. If you do any kind of research in the Tesco, then it means that the applied research. Earlier we mentioned the descriptive causal research. Descriptive causal research is reflecting that applied research. So that means another type how we can define the research. Quality and quantity research. You know that I make it very simple so that you can understand. I think you're familiar. I just with the basic one. Quantity research is based on the quantity, based on the number, based on the statistic analysis. If you do any kind of research based on the statistic analysis, based on the quantity, it's a quantity research. You are doing a survey, your number responding in the survey of 300 respondents. If you have 300 responding in the survey, this is the quantity. This is the quantity research. You're doing the research based on the statistic analysis. And on the other hand, the quality research means if you do the research on the quality based on the like the for small sample, subject interpretation will be there, broad range of questioning, only few experts you can discuss, you can share your opinion with them. You'd like to know their opinion. And from there, you have to write one paper based on the subject interpretation. This interpretation come from you. We call it this is a qualitative. Make it very simple. If there is a statistical analysis, this is a large sample size, quantitative research. No statistical analysis is a qualitative research. Okay, so we just mentioned a few types of research. At first, I mentioned expert research, descriptive research, causal research. Then we mentioned basic and applied research. Then we discussed the quality and quantity research. Now, research publication. Basically, this is our part for today. Research publication. I just remind you one few issues that you just look very carefully that how you can get the research publication. This is another issue. How you can get the research publication. I suggest you that if you are the faculty members, then when you deliver the lecture, means the teaching, and during the teaching, you have to provide the semester project. So your students, they're working on the semester project. So when they're working the semester project or term project during the class, check it. Which one they have the quality. If they have the good quality of the project, then maybe you can invite them to write the one paper. Maybe you can invite them to write the one paper. So that means you are getting that publication idea from the students' project, semester project. And you know that when you are the university faculty member, this is our responsibility. We have to explore the new researcher. So the idea will come up from them, and our initiative will be that how we can construct this their idea in terms of paper. On the other hand, you can do the another one process. So suppose you have the student, they already graduated. So suppose they finish the undergrad or MBA or some master's level. Now they're doing the corporate job. You know that when you deliver the lecture in the class, that is the theoretical knowledge. But when they are applying, they are doing the job in the industry or corporate, that is the practical knowledge, real life application. So you have to invite them somebody to discuss with you what they notice in the industry. So look very carefully. We are delivering the theoretical knowledge, and when they're working in the industry, they have the real life application, practical knowledge. And then let us find out, is there any gap between the theoretical knowledge and practical knowledge? So then maybe you can invite the graduate student that why not you can write a paper based on the gap between theoretical knowledge, practical knowledge, and based on your challenges in the industry, why not you can write the publication? Definitely your student's name will come first as he is the main and you will be the second one. So what is our target is that look very carefully how we can get the idea for this publication. It will come up from the students, it will come up from the graduate student, it will come up from the class lectures and then practical knowledge differences. Somehow you have to explore the new idea to write the publication. Okay, now various types of publication. But this is a various type of publication like a conference paper, journal paper, book chapter, editorial book, and solo author book. And I always mention that if you are the PhD scholar, then you have to give the more concentration to join the international conference. It is not like that you're joining the international conference just for the paper publication. No, you're joining the international conference for the networking. For networking, you see the professor Dr. Nasrum, he has a good network, with the international people. The main reason is that he was involved with the conference. So when you join any conference, automatically you have some networking involvement with the other researchers. Who knows? Maybe you can get the co-authors from there. Who knows? You can get some of the co-researcher from there. And even when you deliver the presentation in the conference, and from the during the presentation, that maybe there will be some critic discussion come up from the audiences. That could help you to review your paper for further construction. So what I said that you have to think about the conference paper, then go to journal paper. Definitely, you know that when you are planning for the journal paper, one of the target is the Scopus in the journal or Web of Science in the journal. Yes, but I always mention that you have to start from the peer-reviewed journal. You have to start from the peer-reviewed journal rather than Scopus in the journal or Web of Science in the journal, because the Scopus in the journal or Web of Science in the journal will take time. It will take at least the 1 year to onward. So on the other hand, if you plan for the peer-reviewed journal, it will take only 6 to 8 months. The initial level, you have to make plan for the scope. You have to make plan for the peer-reviewed journal rather than scope percentage or Web of Science in the journal. Yes, when you have the 1 or 2 paper in the peer-reviewed journal, then you have to move to the Scopus in the journal or Web of Science in the journal. But what is my observation when the author they submit the paper in the Scopus in the journal or Web of Science in the journal, if the review process takes them more than 1 year and 1.5 years, and after that, if the paper is rejected, they're too much demotivated. So we do not want to go that kind of demotivation sector. So it's better to at least you have 1 or 2 papers in peer-reviewed journal. So when anybody search your name in the Google, they can get your name and in the paper from the Google option. You'll feel better. I have some paper. Personally, I request the faculty members to think about the book chapter to read your book. The suppose you have a group of people, a group of researchers, you can think how you can write the one book, and that will be the each book chapter will come up with the faculty member. So this is another way how you can think to the publication. Definitely, solo author book is the very difficult one, and this is that high level of pressure in the academic. Publisher they'll invite you to write the whole book, solo author book. Okay, so today our discussion basically outline of the journal paper. I'm so sorry that I'm a little bit wrap up everything very a short way in brief. In fact, I have another lecture in the Indonesia, so I have to finish this one. Then we have to go to that one. But what I said that now I'm coming to our main point. That is our main discussion for today, and we'll spend the next around the 50 minutes for this one. And I suggest you that those are the participants. You have to give them more attention in this part. Our target, we like to write the Scopus in the journal or Web of Science in the journal. Not only Scopus in this, I like to talk about the Web of Science in the journal. So that is that our main target, and that's why I'll give you some tips. And you have to apply this one for future when you write any kind of publication. The first of all, your first job is the title, and then you have to consider the abstract like this next section introduction, then literature review, methodology, model development, then the presentation of data, discussion, then conclusion, and then reference. I just remind you one issue is that you have to think at first earlier that whether you have a model or not. If you have a model, then section 4 will be there, model development. And if there is a model development, then section 5 will be the model evaluation. You have to model evaluate. But if you don't have the model, then no need the model development. So section 4 is not necessary. In that case, no model evaluation. If you are using that only the secondary data, based on the secondary data, if you prepare the paper, that is a just discussion. No section 4, section 5 only discussion, based on the secondary data. But if you do the primary data, it's based on a survey, in that case, in the section 4 is not necessary, the model development, you have no model, but you are doing the survey, so you have to mention the data analysis part. So you are taking the 200 or 300 or 400 respondents, and then based on their opinion, you have to work on the data analysis part. So what I said that you have to decide earlier whether you have the model or not, whether you are using primary data or secondary data, whether you have the survey or not, something like that. Basically, you have to design that your construction. What I mentioned today is not the necessary you have to use all, but it's some kind of guidelines. If you apply, that's fine, no problem. If you couldn't apply, no problem, because it's not like that. It's not the Bible that you have to use it. It is just guidelines and how you can improve our paper. So let us start by the title. This very interesting thing is that how you can design the title of the paper. This is very important in that sense. You have to use the professional, scientific academic language. You have to use a professional scientific academic language in the title. We suggest that it should not be more than 10 to 12 words. But if you go to the until 15 words, it's okay, it's acceptable. But sometimes we notice that the title and number of words, the 25 words, 24 words, it's too much. Because sometimes if you the title is very large title, it's very difficult to come up that why you are using the difficult title. It's better the more concise and brief title. We use the some term the academic language. So this is very important. I'll talk about this issue later on. And now come to the question is that how you can think about the title. Very simple. You can go back to the like the any journal, there are archives. And then the archive, there are lots of papers. You can see their papers. There is a title. You can see, you can get some idea how they're designing the title. You can go to the conference and proceedings. Say ISSC conference. They have a conference proceedings. So you can see their title, how they're designing the title. That is the way that how you can get the idea. Initially, you design the 5 or 6 titles. Then you have to rethink by yourself. Then you have to do the brainstorming with your co-authors. I again repeat, at first you have to design the few titles. Then you have to rethink by yourself. And then you have to do the brainstorming with your co-authors so that you can get some idea. And I suggest you do not come up the title within one day. You have to start the title in the first day, and when you finish the paper, then again you come back to the title. That is the way they construct the title. You see, when you use the term the empirical study, exploratory research, embedding, impact analysis, such kind of word, it means a scientific term. So try to use the scientific term. I personally suggest as an Scopus in the journal involvement and as well as Web of Science Index journals involvement. It is better to avoid that organization name, country name in the title. It is better to avoid the organization name, country name, or the state name for the title because you don't know who are the readers of the paper. And your target as a researcher always produce a high impact journal paper. There are lots of people, they'll use the paper as citation, they'll use the paper as responses. If you use a country name or organization name, sometimes some of the readers, they don't want to use it. They don't want to read it. If you say that this is the one problem, there's a case study on the Johor Bahru, Malaysia. So suppose that there is a one readers from the UK when he noticed Johor Bahru, I think there's no need to read it. This is a human nature. So you try to avoid the organization name and country name from the title. You can write the organization name, country name inside the paper. You can write everywhere, including the abstract, no problem. But try to avoid from the title. Then, but there's a new style as we started that the research question the title. I think you noted this one. You already visualized this one. Says there is a symbol, a question sign symbol, the title. This is the new style, and last I think around the 5 years we are observing this one. I do not want to say this is the not accurate, but I have some observation that why you are using the title as a question sign. It seems to be that you are using the research question in the title, but we are emphasizing as a researcher that why you are focusing only this one research question in the title. So it's better to avoid the question sign, but I can remind you if you write the question sign there, no problem, it's accurate. But the question will be there, some reviewer, they always think that why you are using only one research question in the title. Why not you have the other research question? So you are reduce the scope. You are doing the narrow scope of your paper by using the question sign in the title. So it is, we mentioned that it's recommended to avoid the research question in the title. Go back to the our abstract. I don't want to talk abstract at first because you know that abstract when you design the paper, we always write the abstract the last. Even if initially if you write any abstract, initially is a draft. Again, you have to revise it end of the session. So I think it is better we have to discuss about the abstract end of the session today. So this is our last discussion for today, and we will finish abstract discussion at the last. I just remind you one issue is that abstract is the glamour of the paper. You know the glamour, right? The all human, like whatever man, whatever the woman, they always love to show their glamour. And female, they're more prioritized to show their glamour than man. But men also, they love to show their glamour. So this is the glamour of the paper, abstract. How you design your glamour, I'll discuss about this one at the last of the today's session. Introduction. Basically, we are going to start our section was discussion, introduction. We are talking about the basic journal paper, and our target is that Web of Science Centric Journal or Scopus Centric Journal. So this is our ultimate target. So I suggest you that first of all, you have to check the journal template. How many pages they allow, how many words they have to allow you, and you have to check their format. It's a very important discussion. And say, suppose they mention that no paper more than 8 pages. So you have to construct the paper within 8 pages. So why I am saying this first thing that if you know this one, it is easy to construct the paper. So now you can design the land for the introduction. Land for the introduction. I suggest you do not write the rationale, objective, significant scope in the headline. You can use a paragraph. I'm giving the headline just for understanding, but you have to write in the paragraph. Or maybe you can write in subsection 1.1, 1.2, but it depends on the journal template. Okay. So let us start in this way. Introduction will consist of the rationale. First of all, you have to mention the general background of your paper. Rationale, general background of the paper. It will come up from the title of your paper, the topic. You are doing the your research paper based on the artificial intelligence, the AI. So you have to mention the artificial intelligence and significant. Which sector do you have to cover? Artificial intelligence, the manufacturing industry, or maybe the other industry. Which one? Based on the title, based on the your idea, you have to mention rationale, general background. Then come to the research objective. I again remind you, this is not the PhD research. This is the journal paper. So journal paper will have to produce from the PhD research. So maybe in the PhD, you have the many objectives, the 3 or 4 objectives. But the journal paper, maybe you are focused only one objective, main objective. So you have to match the main objective. And do not write in this way. In this paper, our objective is to determine, to. Do you remember that when we are the childhood, we are constructed the paper in this way? But when you write there like there, this is a journal paper, you do not write this kind of term in this way. You have to mention few scientific terms. What kind of? You have to use the term analyze, explore, investigate, illustrate, demonstrate. This kind of term is a different, this is term. Relationship, comparative review. And you have to mention the construct the model, develop the model, something like that. So you have to use the discipline research term as objective because this is very important object. You have to use research term. I always mention one thing is that your paper will be accepted due to the few reasons. First of all, if you develop any model, new idea, new concept, your paper must be accepted. If your paper based on the survey and number of respondents more than 300 plus, more than 300 plus, there is a possibility paper must be accepted. Number three, if your academic writing is very strong writing, even your findings are not strong, the paper must be accepted. So what I said there, when you are the reviewer, we are editor board member or editor in chief in the journal, we are looking forward to get the few somethings. Either we are looking forward to get the any model, any new idea, new concept, or maybe that you're constructed the paper based on the 400 plus respondents, or maybe the academic writing is very strong. There is the three reasons your paper must be accepted. So when you design the paper, you have to always think which one you are have. If you understand your drawback, if you know the limitation, then you have to think how you are constructing the paper. Significance. You have to mention that the significance of your study. It will come up from your topics, from your title, from your area, which area you are focusing. Then you have to mention. And then the scope. Again, I remind you, no need to mention that subtitle. You can mention the paragraph. Scope. Basically, when you like to design the scope, I always mention think about your limitation. Think about the limitation. Limitation is the boundary, and scope is the within the boundary what you can do. Make it very simple. What is the scope? Think about what is the limitation. If you know your limitation, then you have to think. That means you have to work within this limitation. So you have to check what is the population, sample size, what kind of research, variables, limitations, something like this. You have to design the scope. I can remind you, you do not write the many things as it is a journal paper. You have some page limitation. You can think only just one paragraph or two paragraphs. That's enough. And the last paragraph of your paper should be the structure of the paper. The structure of the paper. In the structure of the paper, basically you have to mention that your construction of the organization of the paper, like the next section, like literature review, then methodology, then discussion, and the conclusion, so that the people they can understand what you are doing. So what is our target is that when anybody read the your introduction, they can understand that what is that structure of your paper. You know that I think as you are familiar with the research, so there are the four things like a statement of problems, research question, your objectives and hypothesis. These four are correlated. I can repeat: statement of problems, research question, objectives, and hypothesis. These four are correlated. As these four are correlated, so you can write in your PhD dissertation a problem, but you should not write the four things in the paper as you have some limitations. So we suggest you at least one you have to mention. That is the objective. But I can remind you this four: statement of problems, research question, objective, and hypothesis are correlated. It is not the necessary to write the definition of terms, but that sometimes it's necessary. You have to show what you call it as abbreviation, some abbreviation you have to mention. Say nomenclature, we call it. So it depends. If your paper is very technical paper, you have to mention. If it is not very technical, paper, no need to mention that one. Now we are coming to the in the literature review. If you ask me what is the literature review, I would say the opposite way. It is a review of the literature. So review of the literature means English. So review of the English. So it's the review of the previous papers. The literature review means it's a review of the previous paper. Today I'll show you the one special way of construction the literature review. If you do this way, that is another good paper you can say. We mentioned that you see that there is one pyramid. I think you not already noticed that triangle, and it's opposite direction, and number also opposite that 3, 2, 1, right? So you have to design that literature in the three segments: the theory, relative literature, and previous study. Three signifies the theory, two signifies relative literature, one signifies the previous study. The theory, relative literature, and previous study. If you construct in this way, is excellent. If you could not construct, no problem. That's your target. So theory, you understand that what you do. This is the very wide scope. The relative literature, then previous study, make the very narrow scope. And if you ask me, what is your position as a researcher? Your position in the vertex. 3, 2, 1, and then that center. This is your target. That's why you have to construct in this way. It's more narrow. Come to your own research. So I like to give you one example so that you can think. Say you like to do the research on that hospital supply chain management. Hospital supply chain management. Okay. And now how you have to start? You have to start from the theory. The theory will be the based on the definition of supply chain management, like any kind of theory of supply chain management, something like that. Supply chain management theory. This is the first one, and second one, related ability. You mentioned that you like to work on the hospital supply chain management. As you like to mention the hospital, this is service industry. And as it is the service industry, then you understand that you have to talk about the service industry. So related literature, find out the supply chain management in the service industry. It could be like education supply chain, or tourism supply chain, banking industry supply chain, the services supply chain. So that when the readers they read this, or they understand, oh, that's why the researcher he like to construct the supply chain management in the hospital. And then come to the previous study. And the previous study, the more specific. Explore, is there any paper on the supply chain management in the hospital? You have or not? Say, you explore the two paper, previous study. One is that supply chain management, the private hospital in the Nigeria, one paper. Another paper, supply chain management in the public hospital in the Chennai, India. Look very carefully. First of all, the supply chain management in the private hospital in the Nigeria case study. The second one, the supply chain management in the public hospital in the Chennai, India. So that is the previous study. And now come to the next question. Then, what is your job? Your job is that you like to design the one research, so supply chain management in the hospital. That is not the specific for any hospital. So whatever public hospital or private hospital they can apply, whatever the country they can apply. When you mention the previous study, you have to mention that their paper, their citation, their findings, their model, their objectives. So that you can mention both paper, what I said just now, both were the case study. But you are designing the model, that is not the case study. So it means that when you construct in your literature review, you like to signifies your own study, own research. So that the readers they can understand, oh, this researcher, he or she like to design the supply chain management for the hospital that could be applicable in any country, any type of hospital. So this is the literature review construction. And now come to the point is that I think you are familiar with the plagiarism. The plagiarism is another issue in the literature review, because when you're taking that copy and paste from somewhere, you're taking the different definition, you're taking the theory, you're taking that previous paper from the different, you're collecting from the different way, different sources. There is a possibility of the plagiarism. So you have to avoid the plagiarism. What is the acceptance level of the similarity index? It depends on the journal. It depends on the conference organizer. So basically, but for the conference, we're a little bit liberal. So you can go 35 to 40% similarity index. But for the journal, we are a little bit rigid, 20 to 30%. And I think you know that for the PhD dissertation, you also know that in the PhD dissertation, you also know there is some similarity index restriction. We are assumed that less than 20%, something like that. So you understand that is on cutoff for the similarity index that when you're designing the paper that you have to think. And now come to the question, suppose suddenly your similarity index is very high, what you can do? There are a few options I like to share with you. You can apply in future when you design the paper. You can reword the words. What is this? You already mentioned you have to copy and paste, right? Somewhere, some any sources you copy and paste it there. And then rewording the word. So how you can do this one? You can do this one by using synonyms or thesaurus. Synonym by using the synonyms or thesaurus. I prefer personally thesaurus rather than synonyms. Thesaurus you can see the meaning as well. You have to change it. Usually the paper, they're writing the paper based on the present tense. So now you have to write it based on the past tense. The papers, they're using suppose active voice. You have to come to the passive voice. So you're changing. And finally, we suggested you have to apply the paraphrasing. Paraphrasing is the rewrite the whole paragraph. Read the paragraph and then come to the like the own word. You have to write the paragraph. But I would say it's not very easy. It's a difficult and it will take time. But that is the way that how we can reduce the similarity index. Okay, so we have designed the literature review in this way, what I said. Now, let's start by methodology. You know, if you ask me methodology, I would say it's the core of the research paper, core of the journal paper. You have to mention what type of method, what type of methodology you're using. So you have to mention, earlier I discussed the expert research, the causal research. I talked about the like basic applied research, quality, quantity research. So what type of research you're using, you have to mention. Clearly, you have to mention. Anyone, you have to mention, at least. Even the exploratory research, then you have to mention what type of data you're using. Primary data, secondary data, you have to mention. Clearly, you have to mention method of your research. If you understand, you have the research hypothesis, then you have to mention hypothesis here. Hypothesis here. And you remember that earlier I mentioned this hypothesis is a correlated. Research hypothesis that correlated with the research question. So you have to check that from where and how you can construct the hypothesis. You know, there are two types of hypothesis, null hypothesis, alternate hypothesis. I suggest you any one hypothesis you can apply. No need to mention the both hypotheses. Any one hypothesis you can mention, either null hypothesis or alternate hypothesis, because your outcome from the hypothesis will be the same. So any one hypothesis you can apply. Operationalization of the variables. If you have a model, in the model there is a dependent variable, independent variable. So you have to mention that what type of variables you have. And then you have to mention the operational component, like the research question. You have to mention that what type of operational component you're using, like you're using 5-point like a scale or 7-point like a scale, all the simple attitude scale you have to mention. If possible, you can mention the measurement scale, if possible. And then you have to mention sample size determination. It's very important. How you can determine the sample size. Any one option you have to mention. If you do the survey, you are taking the 300 respondent, you have a survey, 100 respondent, you have to justify why you are taking the 100 respondent. And you know, this is a very key point to accept the scopus in the journal paper. If you have a survey, that means you are doing the primary data, you have to mention clearly that how you are designing the sample size. So you have to mention either in formula or maybe a table or reference. Anyone you have to mention. You see, I think you are very familiar with this one, Taro Yaman table. This is a very popular table all over the world. You can apply this one, Taro Yaman table. And you know that if you know the population, we call it known population. There are two types of population. One is the known population and the unknown population. So if you know the population, then you can use that Taro Yaman table. So I just give you one example. Say your population size, the population 5,000. And this is a range of error like the 3%, 5%, 7%, 10%. Say your population size is 5,000, 3% range of error. So your sample size 909. And then if the 5% is the your range of error, then your sample size 370. And then for 7% 196, and for 10% 98. You know that until 10% we are accepting. But if you ask me among this one, which is the most popular? 5%. 5% range of error is more popular. So now say you are doing the research, your sample size is 5,000. Sorry, your population size is 5,000. Now come to the decision. Suppose, unfortunately, you are taking only few respond, like 100 respond. And somebody they can ask you that why you are taking the 100 respond. Are you sure that 100 respond are sufficient to come up with the decision? Then how you can explain? You can explain this way. According to the Taramuyamon table, if the population size is 5,000 and if you use the 10% range of error, the sample size 98, and we have the sample size 100. So your sample size is accurate. So what I say, you have to know that what is the justification of your sample size determination. Say you are using the 200 respondents and somebody asks you the same question, then how can you explain 7%? You are taking that, suppose that 400 respondents, somebody asks you that, are you sure that your samples are sufficient to come up the findings? How you can apply? You can use the 5% range of error, 5% range of error 370. You are taking the 400, that's justified. So what I mean that your Taro table is a one kind of table where you can apply anywhere in order to come up the decision regarding sample size determination. Or maybe you can apply that reference. Basically, PhD level, we always prefer that show the references that how we are coming the sample size. Okay, then sampling procedure. You have to mention basically your sampling procedure. Basically, you have to depend on the probability and non-probability sampling. I'm involved with the PhD supervision, and currently in the University of Malaysia, I have 4 PhD scholars, and out of them, University of Malaysia, I have the few PhD scholars in the other university in Malaysia. Sometimes I'm involved with the PhD external examiner in the different university in India, different university in Malaysia. So I always notice that most of the PhD scholars, they couldn't reply this one sampling procedure. So suppose they say that they are using simple random sampling. On the other hand, they are mentioning they are applying the non-probability sampling. Contradictory. So I suggest you that when you write the paper, journal papers basically, Scopus in the journal, Web of Science in the journal, you have to take care of this issue very carefully. If you don't know, no need to apply. If you are confirmed, then you have to write down. But what I said in the PhD level, we are always asking this question, you like to check whether the students are accurate or not. So I like to request when you write the paper as well, you have to make sure that if it is the known population, then probability sampling. If it is the unknown population, then non-probability sampling. Then under the probability sampling, under the non-probability sampling, there are some few categories. Then you have to think which one you can apply. Okay. So that means you have to start from there, known and unknown population. Then you have to start from there, whether like probability sampling, non-probability sampling. I don't want to discuss too much about that one because we have some time constraint. And now we are in the data collection side. This data collection, you have to match what I said earlier, whether primary data or secondary data. If the secondary data from where you have to collect it. If the primary data, then you have to justify why you are taking the 200 or 300, 250 respondent. You have to explain it. Okay, very carefully. You have to manage data collection because the most of the reviewers, the editor, board members, Scopus in the journal, they like to give the more emphasis in methodology part. If your methodology is strong, they understood that it's something you did. Okay. Now the next section, theory, model development. Yeah. Basically here you have to mention a theoretical framework and then conceptual framework. Theoretical framework will come up from the previous studies, and conceptual framework means your own word. I can repeat the conceptual framework, conceptual model means your own word. This is your innovation, this is your creativity. Okay. You know that earlier I mentioned one example. Do you remember that? And I mentioned earlier that the supply chain manager in the hospital, There's a two paper you received. One is the supply chain manager in the private hospital in the Nigeria, supply chain manager in the public hospital in the India, Chennai. So there's two paper in the theoretical framework. This is the your foundation. So what do you have to mention? You have to mention their findings. Just very simple, one sentence. If they model, then model, and finally their limitation. Finally, their limitation. Remember this one. You must show the limitation. You must show the limitation. Their limitation is the signifies of your strategy. Then you have to design your own conceptual framework, own model. Without the theoretical framework, if you design the conceptual framework, then there will be lots of questions. How is it possible? And you know that when you are designing the conceptual framework, then the next, maybe the future prospective researcher, they will use the conceptual framework as a theoretical framework, and so on. So it means there is continuation. I just give the another example before finishing this slide. During my PhD time, I developed the one model. That is the model for the supply chain management for the university. The name of the model ITESCM model. If the participant you are interested, you can browse in the Google. You can check it. The name of the model ITESCM, Integrated Tertiary Educational Supply Chain Management Model. So I developed this model with my supervisor in 2009 during my PhD time. And after that, based on this model, there are lots of research going on all over the world. Different countries, they're doing some research. Even there are some PhD based on this ITSM model. One of my PhD scholars, he finished his PhD 2018 from Malaysia. So, he used that ITESC model as a theoretical framework. So what he did, I just explained so you can understand. So his theoretical framework was that ITESC model, and then he designed the conceptual framework. His conceptual framework was concept model was that sustainable educational supply chain management model for the Malaysian university. Sustainable educational supply chain management model for the Malaysian university. So he developed the new model, conceptual model. He applied the sustainable concept upon the education supply chain model. So that is his conceptual work. So what I said that your conceptual model will be used by the prospect researcher, then they'll develop the new conceptual model. That means there is some continuation. And that is our ultimate target. If I ask you when you write any paper, if you do any research, then why you are doing the research? You should not do the research for your promotion. You should not do the research for your PhD. You are doing the research, you are publishing the paper for the next generation. You are producing the paper for the contribute to the society. Your research outcomes will contribute to the society. And your ultimate target the society. So what I say that when you're designing the model, it not means that you're designing the model, that's all finished. No. Your model will be the emphasize the another research in future. And that is your target in the research. So when you write the research paper, like the journal paper, you have to make sure that definitely theoretical framework must be there. If there is no theoretical framework, the question will be there from where you are getting this conceptual model. So somehow you have to explain the theoretical framework. Okay, so now we have come back to the data analysis discussion. Basically, this is the statistical part. We don't want to talk too much. We have to mention statistical treatment of data. What type of statistical tools you are using, you have to mention clearly. Excel, SPSS, structure selection modeling. If you apply the structure selection modeling, then you have to mention that which software you are applying, AMOS, Listrel, PLS, you have to mention. Any one software you can apply. If you have the 400 plus respondents, then in that case, you need the pilot test, pre-test. So it will be the very small size, like 20 or 30 experts' opinion. It's a pre-test, pilot test. So even the convex alpha, you can also mention here. You can do the two type of analysis. One is the descriptive analysis and the inferential analysis. Basically, descriptive analysis very simple one: frequency, percentage, arithmetic mean, standard deviation, something like that. On the other hand, the inferential analysis based on the hypothesis testing. So you know that if you know that earlier you have the hypothesis, the no question, inferential analysis must be. So you know earlier, you don't have the hypothesis, so no need differential analysis. But if you have the hypothesis, definitely you have to do differential analysis. So you have to mention either what I said earlier, null hypothesis or ordinary hypothesis, anyone you have to mention. I just like to remind you again, we like to emphasize on structural modeling technique. So if you apply that statistical analysis, you can apply the structural modeling technique so that it is a more powerful statistical tools nowadays you can apply. It's more powerful if you compare the SPSS and Excel. So we suggest you to emphasize to apply the structural modeling technique. And now conclusion. Basically conclusion, you remember that when I mentioned earlier, the first, when you started the lecture, you have to review that conclusion of the previous researcher. So say what their findings they have, what type of recommendation they have, what they say. So now this is your time that how you organize your conclusion. First of all, you have to mention the findings of your research. So it will be the very in brief, basically to come up from the research hypothesis, this question. Then conclusion, you have to convert the statistical language to academic language. Your conclusion, you cannot use any kind of statistical term. No statistical term in the conclusion. You cannot say 0.001 significant level to tell test. If you're expert on statistics, you can understand. If you're not expert in the statistics, nobody can understand. So we emphasize that no need to mention the statistical language, statistical terms in the conclusion. Recommendation, if you have any specific suggestion, say you have a model, you have the new idea, new concept. Now you like to mention how they can apply recommendations, specific recommendation, either for the academics or for the researcher or for the practitioners, if they like to apply the real life application. Any kind of further study. You remember that your further study will come from your limitation. So if you have any kind of limitation, you have to mention the further study. This is a further study for you, or maybe the prospective researcher, they can start from there. So you are designing the further study for your prospective researcher, so they can start from there. What I said earlier, we are not doing the research for ourselves. We are not doing the research for promotion. We are not doing the research for the incentives, for the grant. We are doing the research for the prospective researchers. We are doing the research for the society. So this is the way how you can construct the conclusion. Another one thing you have to mention in the conclusion, that the contribution of your paper, the contribution or novelties of your paper. You can design your contribution novelty in the three way. Maybe your contribution towards the academics in terms of research. Maybe your contribution towards the research, towards the industry, real life application to corporate, or maybe your contribution towards the society. I can repeat, you have to express your contribution by the three way. The first of all, your contribution towards the academics, researcher. Maybe secondly, you can share your contribution towards the industry, towards the corporate people, or maybe the contribution towards the society. Anyhow, you have to explain the contribution of your research in the conclusion. Most of the prospective researcher, they have to start from you, so they have to see your contribution. You know that references, I suggest you that you have to check the journal template, what type of reference they are using. Anyone you can apply. If they apply the APS style, APS style. If they apply the Harvard style, Harvard style. If they apply the Vancouver style, Vancouver style. If they apply number reference style, number reference style. Anyone. But it should not be the mixed reference style. It should not mixed reference style. So you just remember this is very important. Your reference must be anyone style you can apply. You know that when you choose the references, you have to emphasize on the book chapter, journal, then conference proceedings. If you apply the conference proceedings, then make sure that your conference proceedings, they have the ISB number. If they have the ISBN number, it's internationally recognized. If they don't have the ISBN number, it's not internationally recognized. We recommended not to use the website. We recommended not to use the website. And you know that it's very important thing is that if you use the website, then you have to mention the date of browsing. Date of browsing. Because some of the journal, some of the website is changing, dynamic page. And what I said that you remember when you are using the reference, make sure that is also available in the text citation inside. We notice that sometimes the reference is available, but it's not available in the inside. So you have to make sure this one. I like to give the one overview from the Scopus in the Journal editor-in-chief or Scopus in the Journal editor board member, how they are review the paper. You know that when you submit any paper, most of the cases, the editorial board member or editor-in-chief, they don't have enough time to review the full paper at first. So they review at first that abstract. If it is that understandable, is possible to use as a scope is within the journal, then they like to go to the conclusion. If the conclusion is okay, then they have to check the references. The reference is one of the indicator whether the paper will accept or reject. When after these three things like abstract, conclusion, references, when the editor board member they notice you are using the more than 20 references, and most of the references of the books and book chapter and journals. So that means the no question. You have the quality of the papers you are using the inside of the paper. And then they will go to the introduction. Then they will go to the literature review. And most of the cases they don't want to check system analysis. So you just remember that when you construct the paper, if you don't have the good quality abstract conclusion and references, maybe your paper will be rejected in the first phase. So even after review the full paper, the paper could be rejected. But if you couldn't construct the references, construct the conclusion and then abstract what I say, it's difficult to accept the paper. Okay, so this is the last slide. We are in the end of the our session. Do you recall that what I said earlier? Abstract will be the last, and what I said earlier, abstract the glamour of the paper. So that is the glamour. Now comes the point then how we can design our glamour. So you construct the one paper. Now you like to construct the abstract. It's very important. And I again remind you that most of the reviewers they give the full attention at first the abstract. And it happens many where the paper has been rejected just based on the abstract. Because if it is attractable, then they'll go to the inside. If it's not attractable, they will leave it. Okay, so now comes the point how you can design the abstract. First of all, your abstract the size it depends on the journal template. Most of the cases 100 to 300 words, and you have to use that professional academic language. Professional academic language, academic writing is very strong, right? You know that if you ask me what is academic writing, you know that we cannot use the term that what I said, the wanna, gonna, something like that. This is the verbal English. Academic writing, you cannot write this one. Academic writing, you cannot use the you. It should be you, right? So you have to remember this is something we have to use it in the verbally, but you cannot use it. We can use this in chatting. We are doing the WhatsApp message, no problem, but you cannot write in academic writing. The academic writing is something different. Rational. You have to write the rational in the one sentence, very in brief. Rational come from the topics title. And main objective. Again, the main objective only one sentence. You have to use the scientific term, what I said earlier, represent, demonstrate, illustrate, encompasses, depicts, highlight, conceptual model, literature review, whatever, something like that. This kind of term you have to use. What type of study you have to mention? Clearly, you have to mention the exploratory study or descriptive research, whatever. What quality, quantity, anyone you can explain, you can mention. And definitely, you have to mention what type of data you use. If you use the both data, like primary data, secondary data, you have to mention clearly. If you use the primary data, you have to mention clearly. If you use the second data, you have to mention clearly. So whatever you do, clearly you have to mention. This is a part of the methodology. You have to mention the sample, number of respondents. If your number of respondents has 300, 400, I suggest you can mention in the abstract. If your number of sample size is less than the 200, there's no need to mention in the abstract. You can mention the inside of the paper. Because when you're mentioning that, so you're taking the 100 respondent, you're mentioning, we are taking this, in this study, we are taking the 200 respondent. The question will be there. It's not too much. Why you are giving the opportunity for asking the question? So you have to understand this one, whether you can mention that sample size number is abstract or not. Sampling procedures. What I said earlier, that PhD scholars, we notice that when you are supervised or you are working as external examiner, when you review the journal draft, we also notice that most of the time they are doing the wrong sampling procedure. So check whether known and unknown population fall to non-percent. Clearly, you have to mention. If you are not clear, you have some doubt, I suggest you do not write anything. Do not write any kind of error, any kind of wrong information in the abstract. Statistical tools, you have to mention the technique, calculation modeling technique. Say you are applying that analytical hierarchy, AHP technique. So no need to mention AHP, you just mention what technique. Means that you have to mention the mother body. If you use a software name, the question will be there. Why you are mentioning the software name? So we like to with a more neutral position. Then you have to mention findings of the study. Basically, it's the learning outcomes of the paper. It's your main findings you have to mention. And finally, you have to mention the contribution, the novelties of your paper. You have to explain your contribution towards that researcher, that academics, or towards the real life application for the industry or industry application for the corporate application, or maybe your contribution towards the society. Before finishing, I just give one example of the contribution so that you can think. Say you design the one model, and now you like to propose this model for the real life application. And where they will apply? They will apply in the industry. So this is the industry contribution. You are doing the research based on the, let's suppose, the green supply chain management or environmental issue or population. That is a directly contribute to the society. So you contribute towards the society. But you are doing the own research based on the literature review, based on the second data. That is the something difficult to mention the contribution. So how you can mention the contribution? I just give you one example so that you can think. Suppose you design the one research paper based on the second data. You are taking, suppose, say, just based on the 20 papers, and you are doing the literature review. So what you can write, you can mention. You can mention this study unlocks the further frontiers for the prospective researchers in that arena. What I say? You did the literature review work. So you just mentioned this study unlocks the further frontiers for the prospective researchers in that area. So that means that you are open the door for the prospective researcher. So if you ask me that what is the contribution of your research, then I will say that your contribution towards that prospective research means academics. And I believe everybody, when you are doing that research, at least you have this contribution. Your contribution towards the prospective research. What I said that when I start with the PhD external examiner, I always ask this question to the PhD scholar: what is the contribution of your PhD? Most of the cases they didn't reply. So when we review the paper as a journal editor-in-chief or editor board, we also check this same thing. Did you mention the contribution? Did you mention your novelties of your paper? With our ultimate target for the society, our ultimate target for the researcher, our ultimate target for the corporate. How we can add the values to that? So if you design the abstract based on these few things, what I said that, the rationale, main objective, the findings of the study, your contribution, definitely your abstract, the well-written abstract, and definitely paper will be accepted in the Scopus in the journal and the Web of Scientific Journal. Finally, you have to mention the keywords. I think you know that the keywords means that the words, if anybody search in the Google, if you use this kind of word, that your paper will come up there based on their searching. So keywords very important, and when you choose the keywords, you have to make sure that the words is available in the paper, inside the paper. Okay. So that is a part of the abstract. What I said earlier, abstract is that the glamour of the paper. If you design that good abstract, if you have the good glamour, then definitely your paper will accept it. There is no question. And make sure one thing that what I said earlier, academic writing is very important. And I suggest you personally that you have to make the more concentration on the academic writing, especially at least for the abstract part. Because if you're good academic writing, definitely your paper must be accepted. That's all from my side. Now this is open for you. If you have any query, any question, you can ask me, please.
Thank you, Prof.
Yeah.
Yes. So do we have any question from the floor? So this is the golden chance. And while waiting for the question, hope that everyone can display their video, your video, please. so that we can have a group photo online.
Yes, yes, very important. Good photo.
Yes. So please on your video, everyone. And while waiting, we are open for the question and answer session. And we are open for any question from the floor for Prof.
If you have any question, you can also send through email. I
Yeah,
think you know the my email address, or you can pass to the like RMC, or you
sure.
can pass to the like Professor Dr. Nasram, so that I can reply that question to you.
Oh, what one question for? Uh, can you advise as a young researcher, especially for the young lecturer or young researcher, which one they need to focus? Publish in the quality or high impact journal, or maybe uh, focus on the quantity?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. It's very good question that when you're a young lecturer, what you have to think. You know, you can do the two combination. One is that you need the self motivation. So when you have the at least one paper, two paper in the peer reviewed journal, this is a self motivation. Then you can move to the like the Scopus in the journal, Web of Science in the journal. What I said that Scopus in the journal, Web of Science in the journal is not very easy to publish, and it's a time consuming. So when you submit the paper, in the meantime, you should wait for the paper review. You have to go for the next for the paper for the peer review journal. So maybe your paper will be accepted after 1 year and 1 year, 1.5 years. In the meantime, already you have another paper in the peer review journal. So I would say that what I said that dual characteristics. Scopus in the journal, Web of Science in the journal, this is a quality paper. But at the same time, you have to go for some peer reviewed journal where you can get the publication in the 6 to 8 months. It is not the very low quality journal, at least the some standard peer reviewed journal. Why you are doing this one? What I said that is not kind of motivation for you. I noticed that lots of young faculty members, when they submit the paper at first, that Scopus in journal, even they don't have any other publication, first time. When the paper is rejected, they are highly demotivated. And I think that this kind of RMC, their responsibility to this one, but they're also a little tired of that how you can motivate the faculty members. So I would suggest you that why you are going for that level. At first you have to start for the peer reviewed journal, at least publish one or two paper, and join some few workshop. I think RMC they organize lots of workshop. Take their assistance. How can you move the papers? Take the slowly. And academics means always is a chronological advancement. It's not like that you have to jump. So it will take time, and that is the time is means the quality. And so quality will not come in the one day. It will take time, and that is the way how you can reach that level. So let us start from the peer-reviewed journal. Let us start for this kind of journal. Then you have to move to the slowly there. And definitely, I like to remind you again: quality is your ultimate target. You have to start from the quantity, then move to the quality. You have the 200 papers, nothing if you don't have the quality paper. Yes, you have the three paper is the peer-reviewed journal. It's acceptable, no problem. But when you go back to the 10 peer-reviewed journal, the question will be there. One day are published in the scope percentage or of science in the journal. That's why slowly you have to move from the lecture level peer-reviewed journal, then go to the Scopus in the journal or the web of science in the journal. Thank you. Do you have any other question, or we can finish for today?
Okay, maybe we can start
Um,
for.
Good morning, everyone.
No,
Assalamualaikum. I'm Halimah from UUM, Prof.
Yeah.
My question is, as you mentioned that, like maybe we can cite a few articles from that particular journals that we intend to submit. Another thing is, do you think that by co-author with the senior lecturers or senior members is kind of the advantage for the paper to get in to the journal that they intend to submit? Thank you.
If I understood your question, that senior lecturer get the advantage from the journal as a co-author. There is some incentive process, like a primary author, and the secondary author, a third author, something like that. But I personally, if you ask me, I always mention, don't bother this one. Who is the primary author? Who is the second author? Who is the third author, co-author? You have to contribute. And I suggest you do the group work, teamwork. Say, suppose Dr. Nasrin is publishing one paper, he's so busy, so you can take the ownership. I will publish and you can cooperate with. And Saifuddin is like to publish one paper, you can join with him. So maybe the Saifuddin is his core or his core paper, and you can join as a co-author. Dr. Nasrin is a core, the main author, primary author, you can join there. So it means that your paper also increase. And at the same time, in the next time when you have your own core paper, then you can invite them to join. But I suggest you that do not use lots of authors in the one paper. It should not be more than 4 to 5 authors. It should not be more than 4 to 5 authors. When there is a many authors, the question is there. So it means that they are taking some privilege by this one. Suppose dean, vice chancellor, the name is there. Everybody can understand what is happening. So as a new board member, they also understand this one. So what I said that look, you can create some teamwork and we have to work together. It not means that you have to be in the long queue, the long like list of the co-authors. It's not fair at all. So let us work in the team. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Prof. We have some question.
Yes, I got the question from Saifuddin, right? Yeah. Uh, KG Morgan, 1970 table and thermometer table. You can apply anyone. But whatever you will apply, you have to mention. If you say KG Morgan table, you have to mention. Or if you thermometer, you can mention. But what I say, thermometer is more popular. That's why I say. But it's not the no difference. Whatever you say apply, you have to mention. Thank you. Thank you so much.
I Prof, sorry, maybe I'm not joining your discussion in the early part, but can I pose another question in terms of novelty? Can you give briefly the difference between novelty and new contribution in our paper? Thank you.
Yeah, I mentioned that the contribution towards the academics or researcher, or maybe the contribution towards the industry, corporates, or maybe the contribution to the society. Anyhow, you have to express your contribution. If you have nothing to do, you didn't do any kind of develop the model development. If you model development, you can say the real life application for the industry. So if you have nothing to do, at least you can say your paper is the open the door for the prospect researcher. So that means that your contribution towards the academics or researcher. You have to express your novelties in this way. Thank you.
Thank you, Prof. Do we have any other question?
So you can invite some other questions through the email. If you have any
Yes.
questions, send the email.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm always available with the Professor Dr. Nastran, so the RIMC. So if you have any kind of attachment you need, any kind of assistant you need, no problem, send the email and you'll get the feedback. Okay.
Sure.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Prof.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
Thank
before
you.
finish, I just give the special thanks to RIMC, especially the Sixth International Soft Science Conference organizer. And especially thanks goes to my good friend, Dr. Nasr, for his invitation for this kind of session. And I believe the research is always a continuous process to improve the quality. So keep up your efforts. And if you need any kind of help, cooperation, assistance, no problem. As a researcher, we always love to share the cooperation to others. So thanks for today and goodbye for today. But if you need any assistance, my door is always open for you. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. You're most welcome, Prof. And thank you very much.
My pleasure.
So your sharing indeed is very informative and useful for all of us. Thank you so much, Prof.
My pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you, Prof.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye. All right, ladies and gentlemen.
Photo.
Azam, foto Azam.
Yes. Photo. Oh, yes. So is everyone ready? I think that Prof. Habib is already out. Okay, ready? Smile. So we still wait for others. All right. Okay, smile. 1, 2, 3. Once again, 1, 2, 3. Okay, thank you so much. Good one, Casey, even though out of office. Thank you so much. All right, ladies and gentlemen, moving along, it is now my pleasure to introduce our second guest speaker, Associate Professor, Technologist Dr. Aidi Ahmi. Well, Associate Professor, Technologist Dr. Aidi Ahmi is currently our Deputy Director, Special Task Unit in RIMC UUM. Welcome, Dr. Aidi.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yes. And he was previously appointed as the director of the Institute for Strategic and Sustainable Accounting Development from 2014 to 2018. Dr. Aidi obtained his PhD in Information Systems and Computing from Brunel University, London, Masters in Accounting Information Systems from Leeds Metropolitan University, UK, and Bachelor degree of Accounting from UUM in 1997. So before joining UUM, he worked as an internal auditor with Asia Commercial Finance Berhad and a member. And Dr. Aidi is currently a member of the Malaysian Institute of Accountants, MIA, and has become certified accountant since 2007. Dr. Aidi had been recognized as professional technologist by Malaysia Board of Technologies in 2018. Our beloved Associate Professor, Dr. Aidi, has been involved in several AIS-related consultancy projects and has been appointed by MDEC as one of the trainers under the e-Usahawan program and has been invited as consultant related with ICT and web development. Last but not least, ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Aidi has received the Best Student Advisor Award in 2014 and Best Website Award subcategory in 2013 and was recognized by Sarawak Convention Bureau SCB as Convention Ambassador and had received Anak Sarawak Award in 2018. Without further ado, please welcome Associate Professor, Technologist Dr. Aidi Ahmi.
Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And very good morning to all the participants of the ISSC 2020. Thank you very much, Madam Chairman. Okay, let me share the slide first. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, inshallah during this 1 hour sessions, I will share a basic introductions about bibliometric analysis on how we can obtain the bibliometric data and how those data can be analyzed. So during the sessions, you can unmute your mic and interrupt me during the session if you have any questions, or you can just jot down the questions in the chat. For those who are accessing live, there is my email address and WhatsApp number there. So you also can drop me a WhatsApp or email if you have any questions. I'll try my best to entertain any questions. All right, so I believe some of you have knows about bibliometrics analysis, and some of you are still wonder what is actually bibliometrics analysis. And for your info, okay, this slide can be accessed from my website actually. Okay, it is id-ahmi.com. And you just type aidi-army.com, and in the teaching sessions, in teaching sections, there are bibliometrics analysis sections here, so where you can download this PowerPoint. Okay, so what are the things that I will going to cover in the next 1 hour is the first one, I will give the introductions about bibliometrics analysis, sample studies on bibliometrics analysis, demo using bibliometrics using Scopus database, and the fourth one I will show some mapping and visualizing the bibliographics data. All right, so what is bibliometrics? Okay, biblio is actually the origin from Greeks that actually refer to biblions or books. According to a Fox dictionary, it is related to books. The biblio is actually the related book. If you look into the every end of the books or every end of the articles, there are terms called references, or sometimes people call it a bibliography. Okay, so that is the bibliometrics is actually referred to that sections actually, and the book itself is, in other words, or in the things that we really refer to, is probably not just book. Is also referred to journal articles. It can refer to conference proceedings, book chapter, thesis, magazine, or any related to books. And for the focus of the bibliometric analysis, most of the time we are focused on the journal articles and conference proceedings and thesis. While we refer the terms metrics, it is actually referred to measurement. What do we measure? Okay, what we do measure is actually the properties of the books, the properties of the documents, such as the author, the title, and all the informations about that particular books. Okay, and if we going to understand further, okay, in terms of the definitions, okay, it is it is actually the tools, okay, that we're going to use to map the state of the art of the specific area. Okay, and but actually, but the definition is the applications of mathematics and statistics method to books or any media of communication. This is proposed by Picard 1969, and according to Jing King Hua and Landstrom, is a quantitative method used to examine the knowledge structure and developments of research field based on analysis of related publication. So that is a things that is quite a little bit boring, but at the same time, okay, it's not just what we call quantitative. It is also can be used in qualitative measurement. Okay, some of the data that we're going to obtain from Scopus database, for example, or any academic database, there are a few qualitative data, for example, the abstracts that we can use to analyze, to do the mapping or visualizing the knowledge structure. So why? Okay, why we need to conduct bibliometrics analysis? The basic terms, the reason why we're going to provide, why we conduct the bibliometric analysis is to provide evidence of the impacts of the research output. Or this is among others to find new and emerging area of research. For new PhD students, for example, new postgraduate students, they probably going to try to find gaps in specific research area, we probably going to identify research collaborator or identify journals in which to publish. So that this is among others. But what else? What are the other reasons that we're going to conduct bibliometric analysis? I have about nearly 10 reasons, okay, why we're going to conduct bibliometric analysis. The first one is it's not just that one. By conducting bibliometric analysis, we actually can publish the result either in the conference proceedings or even in the high impact journal. Okay, and data, the second one is actually the data can easily be obtained from the established academic database such as Scopus and Web of Science. There are a lot of tools that available in the internet that we can use to analyze the bibliographic data. For example, the VOS viewer, in which I will share with you after this, publish or perish. Another reason is bibliometrics can be conducted in any field of study. Okay, it doesn't matter whether you are in science or in social science or any area, any field of study, you can conduct this bibliometric analysis. Unlike systematic literature review or content analysis or meta-analysis study, bibliometric analysis not really require you to get full article or even read the whole contents of the documents. You no need to even read the paper. However, in order for you to interpret the data, you need to have knowledge, and in order to obtain it, of course, you need to read. Okay, so but what I really means is not really require you to read all. Okay, you probably going to get some important article for you to refer to and cite in your uh, papers. Okay, as long as you understand the scope of the study, know the suitable keywords that are going to be used in the search query, analysis, bibliometric analysis can be conducted in less one day. Most of the time, in my experience, it will take me about 1 to 2 hours to complete the whole analysis. The analysis is not includes the interpretations or preparations of the documents, but the documents that we gathered during that time, during that particular times, can be analyzed in less than a day. And another interesting thing why we're going to conduct bibliometric analysis is you not necessary to have a research grant to conduct this study or gather the research data, especially during the previous MCO. I did involve with a few uh, uh, papers or analysis just from directly from my workstations at home. And of course, you need to spend time. Although you don't have research grant, but you need to spend your time to write, or motivations to write. And by conducting the bibliometric analysis, I can say that anyone can publish. Macam Asia pula, anyone can fly. So anyone can publish. Okay, you have the data in front of you, gather it, and straight away analyze it, and then you can interpret the result. And it is a good opportunity for postgraduate studies. For example, some of the students probably have difficulties, especially in the first year of their study. They don't have the data. What they can do, just like the other previous researcher, you can, of course, you can just publish your literature review or conceptual frameworks early, but prior to conducting all even the literature review, you can actually conduct this bibliometric analysis. Okay. And for your info, data that you obtain from bibliometric analysis actually can be recycled to be further used in conducting a few content analysis study or systematic literature review. All right, so there are among others why we conduct bibliometrics analysis. So we're going to look into the sample studies on bibliometrics analysis. Okay, and okay, before we look into that one, okay, as per Scopus database this morning, if I look into the, if I search the keyword bibliometrics, there are about 7,000 documents or articles that has been published using bibliometric analysis. So this is a quite huge number of articles. If you look into this, okay, this trend, if you look into the year part, you will see that in 2020 the number of articles that have been published in bibliometrics are more than 1,000, and they expect by end of the year the numbers is going to be more than 2019. And what I'm trying to explain here is what this is: the bibliometric indicators, which is referred to here, for the bibliometric analysis studies as per Scopus database. So this is by using the keyword bibliometrics in the title of the document. If I expand the search, okay, using title, abstracts, and keywords, the number is quite huge. Okay, it's about 22,000 plus documents on that is related to bibliometrics. Okay, there are also other names that sometimes the researcher use. For example, scientometrics. Okay, another terms that other researchers use instead of bibliometrics. They use the term scientometrics. If I expand using the keywords, the numbers is probably more. And if I search it through Google Scholar, just based on the title of the documents, as at today, there are about 13,400 documents on bibliometrics. So what is actually this shows you? So the bibliometric analysis has become one of the interests among researchers. There are a lot of possibilities. There are a lot of opportunity for you to conduct bibliometric analysis, and then a lot of samples that studies that you can refer to. So of course, instead of showing others okay, bibliometric, so out of that 7,000 as per Scopus database, this is one of the my studies that has been published in IEEE Explore. I presented this paper in conference in Auckland, New Zealand last year. So this is about the published, the bibliometric analysis of the published literature on Industry 4.0. And there are also other study. Okay, this is the one that okay, recently been established by a group of researchers in University Malaya. Okay, this is the news in News Straits Time. Let me show the news. Yeah, this is the news in News Straits Time, mapping the knowledge on COVID-19. So what this group of researchers did is they publish regularly the scenario of the published literature on COVID-19. So if we look into their website, I think this is okay. This is the one. Okay, and this is the group of researcher led by this Professor Dr. Ng Kwan Hu, and this is the team. They publish regularly the trend of research on that relates with COVID-19. So okay, what do they have? Okay, what do they show here? Okay, they explain about the distribution. This is the map. Okay, of course, this is the world map that shows the distributions of the number of publications or the by countries as at 15 June. Okay, data is based on Scopus. They shows the trend publication rate by key research area. Okay, they shows about others publication distributions and pattern, cumulative growth of publications by subject. This is bibliometric. I will show you, and I hope that by end of these sessions you understand about how this data can be obtained and easily analyzed. Of course, during 1 hour is it's quite hard for you to understand further, but most of every month I do conduct regular workshops on this bibliometrics analysis. If you want to understand further on how we can get the data, but I will explain after this on do a demo on how we can use Scopus database, obtain the data from Scopus and analyze the similar data that has been presented by this group of researcher in their website. And the output of your analysis is probably can be either conference paper or journals, right? So this is things, cumulative growth of publications by country. The most active institutions that publish the research related to COVID-19, the growth of publications by journal. So by showing this, you will know that your bibliometrics analysis paper, where are you going to submit your bibliometric analysis paper? So this is the top 20 journals that publish the paper related to COVID-19. Okay, I'll see that the cumulative growth publications by authors, the funding agencies, keyword mapping. So I will show you how can we easily develop this kind of colorful map, and what is actually this map is all about. Right. So another sample of studies that I always shows is this one. Okay, this is one of the sample Scopus Q1 papers that publish the articles on bibliometrics. So it is a bibliometrics analysis of bot diversity. They explain about current status, development, and future research directions. So what is the contents? What are actually the things that they discover? The same things that the one that I shows in COVID-19 research. Okay, but this one is in term of course, in term of the academic writing papers. They explain about the same thing. Okay, explain about the trend of research, the annual distributions of articles on bot diversity. You can just simply change this bot diversity to your own research area. By right, you can actually replicate this study. You use the same, use the different keywords, but you can conduct the similar kind of analysis. Okay, they look into the distributions, they look into the top publications country. What else? They look into the top publishing journals on bot diversity, top publishing author and institutions, top 20 articles on by the number of globals and local citations. They have the kind of citation network on bot diversity. And for your info, although this graph looks quite complicated, but using the right tools, you can actually develop the same. But the very important things that you really are going to understand here is how we're going to interpret the data. And of course, before interpret the data, in the first place, you need to understand the data, especially the data that you downloaded or gathered from a specific academic database. So this they also develop the article by PageRank. Okay, the top keywords are by frequency. Okay, another keywords co-occurrence networks on board diversity. So this is what I explained in the title of this speech is relates with the mapping, or mapping or visualize, okay, what's going on the particular research area. So what we look is actually the knowledge structure of the specific area. So it's just the case that this area is on board diversity. So if there are also another areas, for example, if you are in sustainable constructions, okay, a barometric review, they have a specific periods that they cover to see what's going on of the research on sustainable constructions during this period of time. Okay, same analysis. They explain shows the global distributions of sustainable constructions publications based on country. Okay, you will see United States, United Kingdom, and China are among the top active countries that publish the research related to sustainable constructions. They explain about the growth of research based on year, and based on this graph, what you can explain here is actually you will see that this is based on the first phase, second phase, third phase. And I believe if you are familiar with your own research area and research domain, you can predict what's going to happen in the future. So I always propose by showing this graph, you can actually explain the past, present, and the future of the research on your particular research area or research domain. This is another, okay, this is what we call it as a mapping based on author co-citations analysis. I will share with you some of uh, uh, the analysis that can be conducted using the tools that I will propose after this. Okay, so this is also another paper that has been published in Q1's journal. Another visualizations based on the keywords occurrence analysis. So based on this one, the software actually suggests there are 3 main clusters on sustainable constructions studies. And each of these clusters has been named accordingly by this researcher. And at the same time, we also can show the temporal overlay. Okay, that shows that which are the terms that been focused currently by the researcher. If you look into the light colors, which is represent in yellow, you will see that, okay, this is actually the focus of the study recently. Okay, in sustainable constructions research, okay, this is the terms that always occurs, and the darker one is the focus of the research previously. Okay, and okay, I like to show this one. This one also in high impact journal Q1's Scopus science productions of pesticide residue in honey research. This is not really my research area. Okay, what I'm going to show you is quite interesting. Okay, this one. It's been submitted on 11th May and accepted 4 days later. Okay, quite interesting. And you probably is going to study on how good these papers and that makes it been accepted within 4 days. In Scopus Q1, high impact journal. This is not my area, but I believe that this paper, of course, quite a good papers, which has been accepted within 4 days. There are also another papers. Okay, you will see that it takes about August, September, about 3 or 4 months for this kind of papers been accepted. And the things that has been analyzed by this paper is the same. They look into the trend uh, of publications based on number of publication as well as the number of citations, the article output based on the subject area, in which you can analyze easily. I will do a demo on how we can going to conduct this kind of study. The top 10 productive journal, same. The difference is on how each of the researcher trying to expose or share or contributes the to the reader the outputs or the impacts of their particular findings. And for your info, if we're going to conduct the bibliometric analysis, our focus is not just the quantity of papers that has been published, but also the quality of that particular outputs in terms of the number of citations and H index, for example. Now, there are of course other kind of indicators. If we look into this one, they look into the total citation per paper, as well as the H index. Based on country, based on institutions, based on author. Okay, same one. So I think there are a lot. Of course don't have all this to shows. There are about 7,000 or more than 7,000 articles that actually available in Scopus database that you can actually refer to. And if you there are many articles that I just want to show you here, is to make sure that you really understand about what are the focus of the bibliometric analysis. They look into what? They look into, okay, you look into this one, the top 100 most cited manuscript in bladder cancer, a bibliometric analysis. What they really look is actually the trends of the research, the most active author, the most active countries, the most active institutions, the highly cited documents among these hundreds of documents which is related with your research area. You can actually replicate all of those study and change, doesn't matter the field, and change it to your own research area. And when we conducting the bibliometric analysis, we are look into the bird eye view of the specific research area. Unlike the systematic literature review, they are focused, they are on lay of the land of the specific research area. Bibliometric is, I would prefer the researcher to look for the specific research term. In here, if we use bladder cancer, if we look into this one, they look into forest carbon sequestrations. Okay, focus on specific research area. And I have received a lot of questions before, especially from PhD students. They're trying to obtain some kind of variable or theories that has been used. But for bibliometrics, I not really recommend you to look into it. That one is probably can be focused if you conduct the systematic literature review. For bibliometric analysis, what you're trying to look is actually you try to explore what's going on that particular research area from the wide perspective, from the bird eyes perspective. Okay, what's going on that particular research topics. And at the same time, instead of looking into the specific research area, these journals or this paper are look into the performance of the research, performance of the journals of this journal. Of course, they showed up 45 years of Journal of Business Research. So I think this is the paper. Okay, 45 years of Journal of Business. So this is good for journals editors or okay, to see or even the publisher to see to what extent, okay, that this particular journal has been okay performed in terms of citations structure, in terms of okay, same the growth of publications and the number of citations that they receive, in terms of the highly cited documents that has been based on the papers published in that particular journal, top author. Okay, this is the number of publications, the publications by number of author. The most active institutions, okay, the most active country. Same things that what okay this researcher did with the COVID-19. Okay. Okay, so the idea here is, okay, so instead of looking into the specific research area, we can also look into the specific journal. Okay, another research area. This is not really my research area. This is periodontology 2000. This is another. You just change this one into your own research area. 100 top cited scientific papers in limb prosthetics, global scientific productions on geographics information system research, global stem cell research trend, what they look into. They look into the trend. They look into scientific productions. They looks into the knowledge structure. They visualize it. They map it. Look into another one. Instead of quantitative, there are also a qualitative analysis on for bibliometrics analysis, knowledge management research. Okay, and for your info, if you find out that this kind of research has been conducted in your research area, you have nothing to worry, because I believe that there are still a lot of room for you to explore or do or conduct the other analysis, okay, that has not been conducted before. For example, I believe that probably some of you are exposed in knowledge management study, and you find out that there are hundreds of studies that has been published related to knowledge management. But I believe there are still a lot of studies that similar studies, similar bibliometric analysis can be conducted on this kind of area. On RFID, another area. Okay, this is one of my early papers on web accessibility. Another one on XBRL. So same goes. Okay, you can come up with your own, but if you going to conduct or do kind of hands-on or you can identify, okay, your own research area to start with your bibliometrics analysis. So I don't want to spend time on this one, but the question is where we going to get those bibliometrics data? Okay, and most of the time, the easiest way is from Scopus and Web of Science. So for in our UEM case, we have a free access to Scopus. So limited access to Web of Science, but if you have your friends from institutions that have access, you probably can collaborate with them to gather the data from Web of Science. There are also other academic database that you can use, for example, Google Scholar, but I will not recommend unless, okay, the numbers is less than hundreds or 500s, okay, because the data that you going to obtain is not really a clean data, unlike the data that you're going to gather from Scopus and Web of Science. So let's have a look on how we're going to conduct the analysis in using Web of Science. So Web of Science can be from Scopus. The Web of Science can actually be accessed from UEM portal. You go to UEM portal, to the e-resources or e-serve, then look for Scopus, and from here, from here you can start search. Okay, for the purpose of this one, I'm going to use I currently work with the topics on IT governance. So I just use the keywords of IT governance or any related keywords. For example, instead of look on IT, we just make it full information technology governance or ICT governance or information technology governance. So based on this search, okay, you're going to manage to get about 1,000 documents. Based on these documents, okay, you will see that this on the left side, this is the trend of research based on year. You will see that the top active authors in IT governance, you will see the subject area in which the publications on IT governance has been published, has been categorized. So you will see the type of documents that have been published, the publication stage, the source title. The source title will include both conference proceeding as well as the journal. And you will notice that these are among, if you look into the journals, you can just limit your articles into journals only. So if you click journals, so you just limit to, you will notice that these are the among the journals that you can submit your bibliometrics articles to. Okay, so this is based on the source title and all of the other variables. And these variables or these items can actually be downloaded. If you click export refine, you will get this data. Okay, this data. This is actually the summary of the data that we obtained from Scopus just now. This one is the one that appear in the right side. So based on this data, okay, this is actually the data. Okay, you see that the number of publications by year, the author name, the subject area, the document type, publication stage, source title, keywords, affiliations, or the institutions that actively publish on that particular research area, the sponsor, the country, the source type, and language. So these are the base, I can say the basic bibliometric analysis, bibliometric indicators that you can obtain from Scopus. And based on this one, you can use your Excel knowledge, okay, is of course required to analyze the result. So based on this data, okay, for example, here you will see that this is the one that we obtained from Scopus just now. All right, so I analyze it based on the number, the year and total publication, and actually you can develop this graph, the one that appear in blue. Okay, how we going to expand the analysis by calculation? Calculate this total citations. So I will come back here into this one later, but by getting this informations, okay, by getting this information, the basics bibliometric indicators as per the journals that I show you just now, or even this website, uh, uh, can be uh, uh, what we call visualized or presented by using graph. Okay, for example, if you're going to look for countries, okay, you can just highlight the countries. Okay, if let's say if you want to look into the top countries that publish minimum 10, you can just highlight it and use the scope, the Excel tools to generate the map. Okay, so you can actually get, okay, this map. Okay, so based on the number of article they highlight, your the things that you highlight just now, you can just quick layout to add the legend, the data label. Okay, you show, okay, by using the tools embedded in Excel. Okay, this is if you're going to present this country, same the first one, you see that, okay, the distributions of COVID-19. Okay, this is the distributions of publications which is related to IT governance, and you can conduct the same for your own or your chosen or specific research area. Yeah, okay, so this is a part of sample. So this is based on where is it? Okay, based on the data that you obtained from here just now. Okay. So this is the search that I conducting now. Okay, as today 1005, but originally the number of data, just delete this one. Uh, this one is I conducted in June. Okay, we see that the difference, there are difference. Of course, if you conducting the bibliometric analysis, most of the time I will encourage you to do the analysis immediately. Like I mentioned to you just now, if if you are using Scopus or a Web of Science database, it will take less than one day for you to conduct all the analysis. Okay, it's just require you to know the tips and tricks. And this one, like I mentioned just now, this is the basic analysis provide or by that we downloaded from Scopus. And the same analysis, if you look into this Scopus, you will see that they are also based on the data that one, they also have a few analysis or graph that has been developed based on the data that you download just now. Okay, you will see that, okay, the growth of publications by number of year, the documents per year by source. If you click this one, you can select, okay, this one is based on the top 5 source title. If you want to expand, you can just click the box here. The documents by author, if you are actively involved in that particular research area, you will know that, okay, this is among your friends or probably among the what the prominence author, or you familiar with them because you always cite them. Okay? If you're going to sorry, have a kind of collaborations of research with let's say if you're trying to apply for research grant in Europe, for example, you will know that which university that you're going to approach to have kind of collaborations. This is based on country, the visualizations based on the type of documents. So this you can either screenshot this result, or you can use your Excel knowledge to do develop your own. You can just highlight it and create the graph using Excel. So and what else? Okay, based on this data, what you downloaded just now is the summary of the result based on your keywords. So this on the left side is the summary, and you export it, you will get the list, the summary of result based on the basic bibliometrics indicators. But at the same time, all of this you can click here and export it into a few files. I normally use RIS or CSV. RIS stands for Research Information System, in which you can open it using Mendeley or Zotero or EndNote or any reference manager. But most of the time, I will use this file to open it using Hazing Publish or Perish. I will show you after this. Okay, and this is what? All of this is the bibliometric indicators. Okay, all of these bibliometric indicators in which you can use this indicator to analyze in terms of author, document title, year, and all those has been specified here. And if this one is important, the references. For you to analyze what? To analyze the performance of the article based on the citations. So you can just click export, or normally I use RIS and CSV to export it. So in this case, I already download the data and in Scopus and RIS format. So I have two Scopus here. Okay, so this is Scopus CSV and Scopus RIS. So Scopus RIS normally I can open it using Hazing Publish or Perish. Hazing Publish or Perish is the software used to search document actually. But for bibliometric, I use the tools to to see. Give me a second. Download Dropbox. It is under my sharing list. This is my sharing 2020 project, and this is IT governance. And okay, this is the file. Okay, I just click import. Okay, there are, this is the file that I imported last June actually. Okay, there are 988 documents, and you see that, this is the citations metrics of all of the articles that you downloaded from Scopus, and you will see that the number of papers, the number of citations that you receive, the citations per year, the citations per author, author per papers, H index and G index, and you can sort out these articles based on the number of citations. Then you will notice that this is the top 5 or top 10 article that received the high number of citations in the field of IT governance study. So you can actually save this result and present the data on most or highly cited documents on this area. And you actually can also copy this data to present the citations metrics for overall documents. At the same time, you can sort this one, by year, and you can just, for example, if you uncheck all and check for 2020 only. Okay, let's say you check 2020 only, you check selections, and you will see that, okay, this 2020 paper, this is the number of citations that receive the H index and the G index. And you can do the same for the rest of the year. And based on this one, you can actually uh, records the number of the total citations received based on year. So normally I use Hazim and Publish or Perish to get the total citation. And you will notice that, okay, based on the number of the trend of documents, instead of showing based on the number of article that has been published, you will see the impact of publications based on the number of citations that they receive during this period of year. Saya punya sesi sampai 1 kan? Alright, so we still have about half an hour. Okay, there are a lot of things that are really interested to share. Okay, so this is okay, one of the interesting things about bibliometrics. So I see is you the data can actually get or been downloaded easily, and the only thing is how are we going to get, okay, the, for example, the total citations just now. So I use Hazing Publish or Perish to get this total citation, the H index and G index. And at the same time, you can manage to calculate the number of citations per paper based on the one that you used just now. Okay, just for 2020, there are 22 papers. This is the number of citations that received. Of course, the numbers is a little bit low due to the paper is just recently published. And you will see that the citations per year, citations per paper, H index and H index for this particular year, 2020. Do the same for the rest of the year. Okay, and okay, so you can also, instead of analyze this, you can analyze the same based on country, based on this one is supposed to be source title. Source title is normally is you can if you select just journal, the source title can be changed to journal. Okay. Okay. What else? So you and all of these basic analysis can be presented. Right? Do you have any questions? You can interrupt me if you want to ask anything, but just see ada question tak ada. Okay. Please stop me if you have any questions regarding this. Okay, what else? Okay, I also at the same time, you can use, you can download the data in CSV format and visualize the data. Visualize the data is in terms of what? Okay, so based on all of this data, I already download in CSV format. Okay, this is the file named scopus2.csv. What we're going to do with this one? Okay, most of the time I'm not really open it straight away. Although some of you knows that it can be open using Excel, but unless you know what you're doing, I will not encourage you to open it. Why? Because in one of the in one of the value or indicators that we download is references. Do you know how long is the references? Most of the time, okay, some of the journal, if they sometimes cite more than hundreds of references. And those all of hundreds references cannot fit into one cell in Excel. Okay, one cell in Excel, one cell here is this cell. One single cell, okay, cannot be more than 32,000 plus characters. Okay, so if you stop and some of the characters that you download from Scopus just now is this one. So if you open it using Excel, it's going to become haywire. So and for the purpose of bibliometric analysis, I seldomly open it using Excel. But what I did is visualize it using VOS Viewer. What is VOS Viewer? VOS Viewer is actually the free tools that you can download from internet. Okay, that from vosviewer.com. It is software tools for constructing and visualizing bibliometric networks. Okay, these networks may, for instance, include journal, researcher, or individual publications. Then they can be constructed based on citations, bibliographic coupling, co-citation, and co-authorship relations. So if you look into this one, okay, how we going to do that? Okay, if you just create map based on bibliographic data and select read data from bibliographics database file. You click next and choose this Scopus file that you download, scopus.csv. So if you click next, and if your data have no problems, you will see that these are the type of analysis that can be conducted using VOS Viewer. So you can analyze the co-authorships based on the author, organizations, or countries unit of analysis. You can analyze the co-occurrence based on the keywords either by author keywords or index keywords. You can analyze or do a visualizations or mapping the citation based on document, source, author, organizations, countries, bibliographic couplings, and co-citation. So let's say if you try to, for example, I want to analyze based on the co-occurrence of the author keywords, I just click next, and let's say I change this, change to 10, okay, and I click finish, okay. So, okay, this is, okay, the visualizations of the research relates to IT governance based on the keywords. So they based on this one, you will see that the research on IT governance as per Scopus database has been okay, divided into 6 different clusters. Okay, who actually can explain these clusters? Okay, you as a researcher, when you look in, you are being involved in IT governance research, for example, you can explain or give name to this cluster. Okay, for your info, the same color most of the time represent the same cluster. Okay, this is not the clusters that every day is announced by our ketua pengarah kesihatan. Okay, this is different clusters. Okay, don't worry, it's not dangerous. Okay, it's going to be interesting if you know the possibility how we going to use these clusters and publish. All right. What I mean is, if you are in qualitative, I believe that there are a lot of stories that you can explore based on this one. So, based on each of this cluster, and if you can name this cluster, okay, you probably can explore or expand the research by getting all the full articles from this cluster to conduct the systematic literature review, for example. Okay, depends on the data that you download, depends on the data that has been analyzed, depends on okay, the numbers, okay, all the articles that you're going to focus on. So that is among the suggestions. The same goes with the articles that, for example, the article as per the one that I share on, I think this one, sustainable construction. So this, okay, this one, this is their result, okay, and this is my result. Okay, a little bit difference, but this one really interesting. They give names on these clusters and give names to these clusters and these clusters. And okay, so what you see here is the based on IT governance research, there are 6 clusters. Okay, then this is on the left side. This is the items or the keywords from each of the clusters. Okay, so cluster 1. So there are 7 items, and this is the keywords. Okay, that has been grouped in cluster 1. This is the keywords that has been grouped in cluster 2, 3, 4, until 6. Okay, so and at the same time, if you look into the overlay visualizations here, you will see that the keywords that has been in light color are actually the recent focus of the study on IT governance. The darker one is the previous focus of the study on IT governance. So you will see that, okay, the research on IT governance are a lot of focus on COVID-5. So
Assalamualaikum Dr. Adi.
Waalaikumsalam, ya saya.
Boleh betulkan kamera, tak nampak tadi muka.
Oh,
Thank
okey,
you.
okey. Alright, nak tengok muka saya je ke? Yang ni, tapi ni nampak kan?
Nampak.
Ni nampak kan? Oh, sebab saya pakai 2 ni. Alright, okay. So, lah. Okay, so you know that, okay, COVID-5 is the focus of the research on IT governance. What else? Okay, the board of director, ICT governance, university IT governance mechanism is among the popular topics, the recent popular topics in this research field. Okay, so that and at the same time you can look into create the map. Just now is based on the keywords. Now we're going to look it into based on text data, which is title and abstracts, title only or abstract only. So let's have a look, okay, how we can visualize or do a mappings based on title and abstracts. Okay, so you see that. Okay, this is there are about, okay, look into the right side. You see that there are 6 clusters based on this one, based on the 10 number of occurrence of the title, based on the title and abstracts. You can change it accordingly lah. Okay, so this is how we can to map, right? And I would like to share to further share about how we can use, okay, this map to present, okay, using VOS Viewer to present the state of the art overview using VOS Viewer. Okay, this is another the sample of case based on we call it as IDA booklet. This IDA booklet can be downloaded from VOS Viewer. If you go to Getting Started, you can download VOS Viewer for free. It's just require Java to be installed in your PC. Then after that, you can straight away. There are VOS manual here on how we going to use or understands the data or the terms in VOS Viewer. And there's the IDA booklets, not ID, ID belum lagi. Okay, so the IDA booklet that explain about this the case or scenario that we can do the mappings or visualize the the knowledge structure of a particular research area. So this is the case this shows about the state of the art of the cybersecurity field according to Scopus. Search for the term cybersecurity. So they shows what actually they show the state of the art in the research field. Okay, we use this to get the overview of research field, find how different subfields are interconnected, and find the potential opportunity for bringing the gaps between subfield. So that, like I mentioned earlier, okay, when we conduct the bibliometric analysis, we get to see the bird eye view of what's going on of the research on that particular or specific research area. So in this case is cybersecurity. In my sample just now is about IT governance. Then there are a lot of other field that I share with all of you just now that you can refer to. There's another, at the same time, you will see the evolutions of research. Evolution of research in terms of, okay, the focus of the research in particular period of time. And you will see that, for example, the terms that highlight in red is actually the term that currently being focused on. So the terms that highlight in blue is the 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 terms that not really being of the focus of the study currently. So you will see that, okay, what's going on the evolutions of the research based on the software, by using the software just now. Okay, we have another 20 minutes, and we also can show the another visualizations or mapping based on the citations impact. Okay, what else? And you will see that in terms of collaboration profile, based on the co-authorships map, that shows the names and author who publish paper on that specific domain. So like I mentioned earlier, if you are familiar or has been exposed in that research for quite a number of year, you will know, okay, the name that appear in this analysis. You will see that in terms of research positionings, okay, uh, this is another case proposed by Ida Booklet in how you can actually visualize or do a mapping on these research positionings. Research showcase in terms of this one is the term map was generated based on the article written by I'm not really sure about this okay, but you can showcase the research. You can develop the profile submitted by in ISSC conference, for example. Okay, so we will know how many of papers submitted are from which area, either is social science or non sources or SNT, science and technology, and whatnot. The consortium assembly profile. Okay. This is another terms that educational program profile, organizations overview, citations network. Okay, this one is not using VOS Viewer. This is a kind of they use SiteNet Explorer. SiteNet Explorer is actually the another tools that developed by developer of VOS Viewer. Okay, instead of just VOS Viewer is, mainly is for the Scopus database. SiteNet Explorer is being used for the data that been downloaded from Web of Science, mainly for Web of Science. Okay, and it's still it is free. Another citations networks based on authors, I think. The landscapes of the journal. This is what I meant by explaining about the mapping and visualizing the bibliometrics analysis. Okay. Okay. So that quite the interesting and colorful visualizations that can be conducted using bibliometrics analysis or view as viewer. You can showcase the author, landscapes, the ranking. For your info, for in bibliometric analysis, it's not just focus on what? It's not just focus on the analysis on specific research domain, the analysis for specific journal, but also the analysis for what? For analysis for specific institutions. Okay, if you look into UUM, okay, UUM, you will see the landscape or the mapping or the visualizations based on the authors in UUM. So you this data can be downloaded and obtained and analyzed and for what? For promotions, or to make sure that whether the university achieve the performance that has been set up or not. Okay, for your info, I've been invited before I joined or been appointed as the deputy directors of RMC. So, but now I have to look into into this one to analyze all of this kind of analysis using bibliometric. And suddenly I've been assigned to do the Myra punya submission, so I have to check all of this. So at the same time you can use for this one. Right. So that is the demo of the Scopus. So what I showed just now is in bibliometric analysis, you there are three types of indicators that you analyze. The first is in terms of quantity, refer to the productivity of research based on the quantity, the quality of research based on the performance, impacts, or output of the research. So one of the measures that we may use is citations. And another one is, don't forget about the H index. There are two main indicators to analyze the performance of the publication. So the publication is not just for the sake of publish, but we also want to see whether that particular publications have the impacts. And what I showed you just now is the structural indicators in terms of mapping and visualize the research output based on the indicators that I already showed just now. So due to the time, I don't think that I have time to explain all the details here, but this is actually the same indicators that are been exposed or shows in journals that I shared just now. Okay, all of these indicators in terms of ranking institution, they explain languages, most cited document by country, subject area, research area, most active journal. So this is the basics, and you can extend based on the other indicators. Okay, for journals, you probably have site score, SGR or SNP. The Scopus I come up with the latest version, or if you use what we call Web of Science, you're going to have the impact factor. At the same time, you can also evaluate the the quartile ranking, whether it is Q1, Q2, Q3, or Q4. This I already explained just now, the authorships analysis in terms of whether it is a single author or multi-author, citations count. Okay, this is what I showed you just now, the data that we obtained from housing, publish or perish. Highly cited article. Okay, I already conduct this one. Okay, the analysis. Okay, this is the visualizations of bibliometrics studies. Yeah. Clustering. Okay, this clustering analysis is a kind of what we call as a qualitative process. Qualitative analysis. You analyze, for example, you can do clustering based on abstract using VOS Weaver. At the same time, the abstracts can be used or integrate with Atlas TI or NVivo to analyze, to further analyze it qualitatively. So this is another explanations about citations as well as bibliographic coupling or co-citations. What is meant by that one? So due to the time, I probably trying to entertain any questions if there are any. So while waiting for questions, let me check. Okay. Okay. Just show. All right. So this is the step. I think the step is similar what has been explained with by Professor Dr. Mamun just now. Instead of Hazim, Publish or Perish and VOS Weaver, there are an Excel. There are other tools that you can use as well. Okay. Is the same things that has been explained by Prof. Mamun just now. The type of papers or research, same goes with the type of bibliometrics. It can be either descriptive, evaluative, or relational. I already explained just now why we use bibliometrics. Okay, there are sample of articles that you can download here. Okay, I think just a note for myself. Alright, semua penulis akan mati, hanya karyanya yang akan terus kekal abadi. Maka tulislah sesuatu yang dapat membahagiakan dirimu di akhirat nanti. Alright, so it's kind of relate with bibliometric analysis as well. So how actually the you have the data that's been downloaded easily from Scopus database, and what you can actually try to explain or here is the impact or the contributions of the paper in your specific field. So that is the things that I think all of you can think about it. Okay, it's not just a matter of okay the one that shows or the one that we get from the Scopus database, but it's the one that you can elaborate further that can contribute to that your particular research area. I think that's all about my presentation about bibliometric analysis. So I will entertain any questions if there are any, and I pass to the MC.
Okay, thank you, Doctor. All right, so while we're waiting for other questions, if any, once again, hope that everyone can display the video. Maybe we can, yeah, maybe we can have, we have new face. And once again, for the group photo, hope that everyone can on the video and we are having the group photo.
Dr. Ramani is here. Oh, you attended my bibliometric workshop last time. How are you? Tak dengar lah. I think you mute your mic.
Yesterday, I presented a paper, Dr. ID.
Oh, okay, good.
On bibliometrics, yes, on blended learning.
Interesting.
Ya, semua ilmu dari Dr. Aidi masih.
All right. Okay, good to hear that.
Yeah, hope everyone is ready. All right. Okay, everyone's ready? Let's smile. 1, 2, 3, smile. All right, so let's have another one. 1, 2, 3, smile. Okay, thank you so much, everyone. So do we have any question from the floor? For any question, maybe we can contact Dr. ID and also contact RMC if you
Okay.
have any further question, right, Dr. ID?
All right. Thank you, RMC. Thank you, Dr. Nasros and RMC for inviting me to share the knowledge on bibliometric analysis. And thanks for audience for listening. So if you have any questions, you can ask me through WhatsApps or email. And you can access these PowerPoints from my website, id-ahmi.com. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr.
Thank
Aidi.
you, Dr. Aidi.
All right.
All right. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we have now come to the end of the 6th International Soft Science Conference 2020, ISSC 2020 virtually. So on behalf of the organizer of ISSC 2020, the Research and Innovation Management Center, RIMC UUM, we would like to extend our gratitude to all the committee members and especially the participants for the endless support. As a wrap-up, we present to you the last piece of ISSC 2020, the closing speech by our beloved director, Yang Berusaha, Professor Dr. Nur Azia Abdul Manam. Till then, we wish you a pleasant day ahead and hope to see you again in ISSC 2022. Bye.
Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullah. Very good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I was asked to give a short closing remark to all participants, so I'm taking this opportunity that I believe during these 1.5 days we are together, we have listened to many insightful and fruitful research findings and sharing through virtual presentations. So in this 6th International Soft Science Conference 2020, with the main theme towards IR 4.0 nation building, we have learned a lot from the keynote speakers, workshop sessions, as well as the interactive online paper presentations. So once again, on behalf of the committee, I thank you for delivering such important research materials so that all of us can deepen our knowledge about soft science research, especially in the management field. We have also invited Datuk Dr. Rohaizat for sharing his valuable first-hand experience of COVID-19 in Malaysia, and I would like to thank Datuk for that. It's a very precious sharing moment. I would also like to thank all presenters and participants who have joined us in this conference from all over the world. I sincerely hope that through your presentation and discussions, all of us can contribute to solving the research problems in our own field. Even though the contribution may be small, but it is still a valuable one. It must be a precious experience for you to have discussions in a candid manner with your new friends virtually here in this conference. So on behalf of RMC UUM, I would like to express my appreciation to all the participants for taking time out of your busy duties to attend this conference. And I would also like to close my remarks and officially announce the end of the ISSC 2020, wishing the future prosperity to all participants. I hope to see you again in 2022, inshallah, in our coming 7th ISSC 2022. Thank you once again. Assalamualaikum warahmatullah.